Podcast.
Everybody welcome Don Mystic Mack.
Hey, what's up? What's up, Joseph?
What's up, brother?
Congratulations on your podcast, brother.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
It's going pretty good. Got some really good guests, including yourself.
Hell yeah.
Let's give a little history on the weekend dance party. Of course, it was started by Frank Cerami. And as far as I know, and I may be wrong on this, but I think he started at the Ripley. And the original mixers were Michael Brooks. Remember him?
Yeah, I remember him, of course.
And Chris Mager was the other mixer.
Okay.
And I became friends with Frank from Franchines.
Wow.
And luck would have it, you know, he heard some of my I worked like the worst night of the week. And he heard some of my mixes, so he asked me if I wanted to be a guest DJ. And I did so, and things happen, you know, in this business. And Chris wound up leaving the show, and I wound up getting the spot.
Wow.
So it was a beautiful thing. You remember how you got on the show?
Yeah, I remember. It was like I was working at PSFS in the purchasing department warehouse, and then my phone rang. My phone rang, I answered it, and guess who it was? Joe Too Cool Kalari. I think Dave Allen, I think he told you to give me a call.
Yeah.
That's how that worked?
That was. I mean, you know, when we talk about this, I forget like this stuff, but now when you mention it, I remember it.
You remember? Okay. So then I got the phone, and I said, it was Joe. Hey, Joe, this is Joe Kalari. Now, I was working at WDAS at the time on I did their Saturday night, and there's some mixes on their show. So Joe called me and said, hey, brother, how would you like to come over to work for the #1 station, Power 99, Saturday Night Live? I said, yeah, I would love to do it. No questions asked. So if that was history, that's how I got over there.
That's
started
awesome.
With you. And
Dave, I remember when that was all coming about was, I think it was Brian Dennis had been on the show for a while, and then he was moving Double D. That's right. He was a great guy. Love him to death. But he was moving on to a different position. And so I remember Dave saying, you know, we need another mixer. And there was I'm not going to mention any names, but there was like 3 or 4 different names that were floating around. And David called me in the office and said, you know, what do you think? So I felt really good that, you know, he wanted my opinion.
Right.
And so we talked over a few things, and I remember saying, well, you know, if you're looking for the best mixer, then we got to get Don Mystic Mack. You know, because I listened to everybody else's, you know, like us mixers, we listen to each other, and, you know, see what's going on. Maybe you can hear something you're not playing. And it was, that's how that all went down.
That's how I got it.
He said, give him a call. And I did that. And we wound up working together for, I guess it was almost 10 years.
10 years.
And that was an unbelievable time. Never happened again, of course.
No.
But we were very, very fortunate because we seen a lot of people go through the show, you know, starting with Frank. And then JoJo had stepped in for the interim. And then I think it was Big John Mons.
John Mons, yeah.
And then Stanley T.
DC.
And then we wound up with DC.
DC Tide, exactly.
Yep. And that's how that show went for a few years with DC.
Oh yeah.
Great. It was a great time. The Phoenix. We did the Phoenix, the Ritz, and then Vegas, correct?
Club Vegas,
yeah. So we had a nice long run and remained #1 in the market. The show actually got bigger and bigger because when Frank was there, it was #1 in the market. And you know, when you're making these changes, you only got one way to go. That's down. But fortunately, it went up. It kept going up.
Oh yeah.
And it was just an amazing time. Music was great at that. And we played a lot of different styles.
Oh yeah.
You know, tell me about.
That's what made it #1 because we had different styles and stuff.
Exactly.
We play all over the place, but still make it sound good.
Yep, you could hear freestyle, hip hop,
Right.
R&B,
Top 40.
classics,
Yep.
old school. I mean, it was a mismatch of everything, and it worked
Together, number one.
Yep, and that's what you're absolutely right. That's what pushed that show to get those numbers for decades.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just I'd started there in the mid '80s and went to like the mid 2000s, and it was just insane, and it was a lot of fun.
I think I started in 91. 91 when I got over there.
Okay. Yeah, I started. I think it was 85 or 86, somewhere.
Okay.
It's all like a blur now. You know, I mean, to me, it's kind of surreal. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it feels like it never even happened. But you know, I have the old tapes to prove it.
That's true. That's what you gotta have. Proof.
Now, the thing about our show was we weren't like fancy kind of DJs, like scratching and mixing and dropping. We were blenders, and
straight blenders.
And I said this all along. The most important thing, and maybe there's some DJs out there that'll listen, but it's about song selection.
Correct.
We were very fortunate to have Dave Allen. Yeah. And Dave would give us the lead way. You know, let us use our expertise.
95% of the time.
Exactly. I mean, he had his little ways, and you know, he would be on the hotline. Yo, man.
Hey, man.
You know,
hey, man. Hey, man.
Playing too much rap.
Too much rap, man. Too much. 18 to 34 females, man. Come on.
He was great, though. I mean, he was. He allowed you to, you know, use your skills, and then you know keep you in line when he had to. And but he was very fair.
Yeah, he was.
And for the most part, you know, we were on our own.
Oh yeah, that's right.
How did you?
After a while, we knew what to do because
exactly. Yep.
Yeah,
I mean, we didn't have any playlists anymore. When I first started, you had a playlist, and it made it tough to mix because you had to pick songs from categories, and then you had to incorporate that, you know, beat wise. And song wise, so it was a little tougher. But when we got around to when you came onto the show, there was no more. You know, here's the list, and you got to play an A rotation and a B rotation and a RC, you know, and a non-current, and you know all that crap. That was all gone. So he allowed us to incorporate what we did, and then put in the songs that you know we knew nobody knew yet, but we knew they would work. And I think that combination, I think we're like cut from the same cloth where we're students of music.
Yep, there you go.
How did it all start? Like, when did you know? You know what? I want to be a DJ.
Well, I can take it way back. I mean, I'll be here all day. But anyway, first off, I went to a place called the Liberty Bell Lounge. I was not of age. I just said, I got to go in there. I heard the music coming out of the thing. I said, let me go in there. And I went in there, and it was people dancing, and it was the oldies and stuff like that. It was like dancing and everything. I said, wow, this looks like fun. This really looks like fun. So what I did is went back to the DJ, who was Slaughter. I don't know if you remember Slaughter.
I do. I know Slaughter.
Okay. Well, Slaughter was playing. So what happened was a hottie came into the bar, and he was all over it. He's like, "Yo, I'm standing there because I'm so amazed
those
by
damn DJs."
Yeah, so the hottie came in. So, like I said, the place was packed. It was always packed. He said to me, "Yo, do me a favor. You want to play? You want to play? Play for a while. I'll be right back. I'm not going to take long." He went away for about almost to the place closed. I'm in there playing oldies and stuff, and the people are jamming and everything. I said, you know what? This is definitely what I want to do. I said, I got to do it because I love music. So this is what I got to do. That's how I started. Then I went to the Mark Ford Lounge. The manager was Johnny Dollar, played there for about 2 years. And I went to, where did I go next to? I went to let me see.
And you still had your regular gig this whole time too, right?
Oh yeah, I'm still at my regular gig at
Yeah.
the bank. I was getting going up higher and higher in the bank. So then I went to the Trestle Inn, 11th and Callawhill. I don't know how I got down there, but anyway, I was down there and I met the owner, John Wigfall, straight up to him. And in there, and he let me play. So I went and played, and I was mixing Cheryl Lynn Encore with Funk Box Party. Sounded so clean.
Great mix, by the way.
Yeah, I know. So, well, I got it from Lawrence Lewan. That's where I got it from.
Lawrence
So I'm in
Lewan.
there mixing, and he's here, and he said, "Man, that guy sounds like Lawrence Lewan over there." So he said, "Hey, would you want to go down to the station and meet some people?" I said, "Yeah, I would definitely want to do that." He said, "Well, when would you want to come down?" I said, "Tomorrow morning." So he said, "Wow, okay." Well, he said, "I'll be in there at about 7
o'clock. Knock the door down.
7 o'clock. I was there, and he took me in, and they introduced me to Butterball, to Mimi, Patty Jackson, Lawrence Lewan, who I really wanted to meet because he was my idol, Kenny Ebo, and Cutmaster Butter wasn't there at the time. And I'm in there, and I start hanging out there because it was so much fun because it was music. Right. So I'm hanging out, went to the club with Lawrence Lewan, stood on the side. He's partying, jamming and stuff. He's live on the air on a Saturday night. And something happened. Somebody, again, a hottie or somebody came into the club. I don't know what happened. Lawrence said, "Yo, man, stand by here." And I'm like standing by. And then they told me to go on. They said, "Go on, but you can't go under his name." So, I mean, you have to go under his name.
Right.
I said, okay. So I played a little bit and stuff like that. And I'm partying and the people jamming and everything. And they thinking it's Lawrence Lewan. So then my man Doug Henderson was in there. He said, "Oh, yeah, sounding good, man. It sounds real good. What's your name?" I said, Mystic Mack, but you can't say it on the air. He said, "F that." I'm saying it. He said, "Don Mystic Mack on the air, on the wheel." I said, "Wow, man." He said it. I felt so good. And the rest was history. I was there.
I love Doug.
Yeah.
I got to work with Doug a little bit on we used to do a happy hour together at the Phoenix. And then but I was a big fan long before I became a DJ. I would listen. I loved Jocko. It was his dad. A lot of history there. Absolutely.
Didn't Doug work at the Second Story? I think he did.
I think he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Second Story was an incredible place.
I know.
I used to go with a friend of mine, Joey Marini. He was a DJ there. And that's where I actually got my start as a DJ. He had a little club in Pennsauken called Pepe's.
Okay.
And I did an oldies night there on Tuesday night. But he had a radio show live from Pepe's on WXTU when Perry Johnson was at WXTU.
Dr. Perry Johnson.
Yep. Yeah. And I used to write the Motown trivia questions for him way back. Before, I mean, this was before I really even had a job as a DJ. So that's how I wound up starting with Joey Marini and Johnny Marini, who owned the little local place. It was kind of like a Arnold's in Happy Days. All the kids from the town would come, and it was a blast. It was a lot of fun. And then, things evolved. You get your shot at radio, and then we both became billboard reporters.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me what that meant to you.
That set it off. Once I became a billboard reporter, I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. I never thought that I would be able to be on radio and be a billboard reporter national. And
right.
And the promoters and stuff was coming to the club all the time, wanting me to play their songs and stuff like that. And they was taking me out to dinner and everything, taking you out to dinner too.
Yeah.
Whatever we wanted, they would give it to us because they wanted us to chart their song.
Absolutely.
So back then, it was like unbelievable time.
People don't understand back then, being asked, because I remember talking to other DJs who were billboard reporters. And back then, it wasn't a paying job. It was an appointment that you got from the magazine.
Exactly.
And it was like getting an Academy Award for a DJ to be asked to be a billboard reporter.
Right about that.
It was a big deal. And you could parlay that into. I know I parlayed mine into doing remixes for some of the major labels, and
wow.
you know, you got to know everybody. Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Remember we did the remix. I think we went to Chicago. Let's talk about that one. Let's talk about that one. Well, I think the song was Adonis, No Way Back. Was that the remix we were doing?
I don't remember. I actually don't remember the song, but
it was Adonis, No
let me
Way
tell
Back.
the story. Me and Don, we got hired by I think it was Hot Tracks or something. It was House Tracks or something. Yeah, it was a big house label out of Chicago.
Yeah.
And so and I'll never forget it. It was like freezing. The first thing is we're at the airport. Well, I was at the airport and I'm on the plane and Don is nowhere to be found. Kind of like the weekend dance party. And so finally, like, they're holding up the plane and here comes Don trucking down the aisle with his bags. And I'm like, dude, you know, it was insane. We went to Chicago and it was, we went to a place that looked like
Trax Records.
Was it Trax Records?
Trax Records, that's what it was.
Yeah, we went there and it was like the Herman Munster house. Remember we went to the guy's house?
Oh man. And I came over to you, right? Because it looked just like the Addams Family or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I meant, the Addams Family.
Yeah, Addams Family. So I'm in there and I'm like, Joe, this is crazy. And Joe said, you know what? We can't stay here, man. He said, let's go downstairs and tell this guy we need a hotel or something. We can't stay in this house.
Yeah.
Because remember, here's another thing. When he came to pick us up, you remember that limo?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. That thing, I was like,
it was like a 1932 Packard. He picked us up and I was like, uh-oh, I don't think it's going to go well.
That was the start of it all right there, man.
Well, we wound up getting the hotel right on one of those big lakes. I think they call it the Golden Mile.
Yeah. Yep. So we got that, and we actually did the record. We remixed it and everything.
Yep.
Because everything calmed down in that aspect. Yep. So
exactly. So that was a little adventure. Then we had the Larry Lair on Sony through Rough House. Yeah. That was the Mackless mix.
Mackless mix, right?
Well, it was kind of like the same thing. We have studio time to go in and do the remix. I'm like, where's Don? And Don was so late that we were done the mix.
Yeah. Well, it was done the mix. So Joe said to me, he said, we're still going to give you credit. We're going to call it the Mackless mix.
Exactly. So that's, wow. And Larry Lair is a great guy, man. Mm-hmm. And Rough House was Rough House was one of those things that makes you proud to be from Philly.
Oh yeah,
those guys worked hard. Chris Schwartz, Joe Nicolo, and they made a lot out of nothing. Yeah, and it was you have Chris Cross, and I remember Joe playing a cassette. I think I still have it, as a matter of fact. He has given me the I can't even talk. He given me the cassette of Jump. And it was like a 4-track version. Mm-hmm. And it was before anybody knew who Jermaine Dupri was. Because he was doing the production on it.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember you could hear like a radiator banging in the background. Right. And the kids jump. And that just kind of blew that up. And were you there when they shot the video in downtown?
Yeah, I did. Yes, yep. I was there.
I remember I was playing video games with the kids, Chris's, in the trailer. That was a lot of fun. I mean, we got to see
a lot of things were fun back then. Everything, a whole many different things was fun.
We got to see a lot of really cool things pertaining to the business that a lot of people don't get to see from behind the scenes.
Oh yeah,
even down to Milli Vanilli's first stop was at the Phoenix. Mm-hmm. Nobody even knew who they were at that point. They were just breaking. Mm-hmm. And I I remember Dave calling me in the office, and he was playing Don't Forget This Number. It wasn't even Girl, You Know It's True. It was Don't Forget This Number. And it was an import from Germany.
Okay.
And he played the track, and he was like, what do you think of this? I was like, that's pretty hot, you know? And then, boom, they were off and running, but nobody really knew at that point that it was just, I think they were from Maryland. The Newmark was part of that, I believe, if my memory serves me right. But it's a lot of strange things happen. And getting back to where you got your shot hanging around, that was one of the ways as a DJ you got your chance. You started hanging out with the guys who were the bigger DJs. Maybe you have to carry their records a few times, but just hanging around. That's basically how you moved up in the ranks. And when you got your opportunity, you had to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And for both of us, it worked out pretty good.
And then as I went on, a lot of other DJs would hang around me.
Exactly.
And they got in like that. I'm not going to mention no names.
I mean, look at Doc B.
There's a lot of them. Yeah. Well, there you go. That's fun.
I mean, he's running the whole show.
Yeah.
And
you're right.
Listen, I always liked him. He was a great DJ and a good kid. And listen, we all have our little quirks and stuff like that. But for the most part, most of the people, like I had Sean T. Okay. Sean T was really like he was very reliable, and he was a really good DJ. So you need somebody there as a sidekick, and Kevy Kev,
Kevy Kev Mason.
Yep. Kevy Kev was always there. Great DJ, good guy, very very knowledgeable of all the music. So a lot of those guys that had come up the same way we did. You just gotta wait your turn and hang out, and
it'll come if you have talent.
If you have talent and you have perseverance, you will definitely make it. It's just like anything else. You have to work hard.
Yeah.
Those late nights, those long weeks, carrying records up and down steps, and it was brutal. Yeah. And I did all that like every other DJ, before me and after me. So it was just part of the routine. But we were very fortunate. And then, I had a lot of fun with remixing and then writing. It led to so many different things. But that's the way it was. I mean, you hung around. We were fortunate again to be at the radio station and meet a lot of people.
Exactly.
Remember Hiram Hicks?
Yeah, of course. Oh, yeah, Hiram Hicks.
And then bam, he was a photographer or something, wasn't he?
I think he was.
And then you had so many people who were on the outsides, of the entertainment world that became big. Charlie Mack. And then we got to work with some really good mixers. Gary O, who recently passed. Yeah. God bless him. He was a great DJ.
Oh yeah.
Randy.
Randy.
I'd love to talk to Randy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Trying to get in contact with him. I just can't get in contact. I'm trying. Randy.
We were very fortunate. We had Jeff Mills.
Yeah.
These were all guys. Yaman. He was a great editor. Showed me how to edit tape back in the day.
Yeah.
How did the change from analog to digital affect you as a DJ?
Well, I mean, in the beginning, it affected me more because I didn't know a lot of the ways to do the digital. But when I learned it, I went to it. I think it was good. Even now, I'm saying it's good because when I do parties and stuff, I ain't taking no records and nothing with me because it's all in my computer or digital, where I can just play from that and I don't have to carry a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah,
and that made the biggest change for me. is that part right there.
The 8 crates of records.
Oh man, crates. See, a lot of DJs don't even know about crates of records and stuff.
Yeah.
But as you see back here, all those records, that's some of them. I got a whole basement full of other ones about records and stuff. So
I sold my collection 20 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to get rich. Hopefully they'll become some collector's items.
You can get paid. There's no doubt.
Yeah. So
I think when it wound up, it was over 20 grand.
Damn.
It was. I had so many records. It was insane. I had my whole basement full, garage.
Like me.
We had. There's a guy, Nick the Record from England. Mm-hmm. He would come over and buy collections, and that was from Frankie Sestito.
Yeah, Frank Sestito.
Yep.
Okay.
And so he was friends with him. When he would come over to the States, he would, hunt for DJs who were selling their collections. And then there was another gentleman from Japan that came over and bought a lot of my records. Speaking of Frankie Sestito, tell me about getting into the Legends of Vinyl Hall of Fame as a DJ.
That was a shock. I didn't believe it. And when it happened, I was like, wow. I mean, that makes me think. I mean, not only am I appreciated like in the urban side or something like that, I'm also appreciated around the world because I got in the Hall of Fame. And that made me just say, oh, wow, that's made my career the best. I got that plaque. I said, woo, I really did something. I remember a lot of people.
Another thing about you were you wanted to be known that you could play across the board. It wasn't just hip hop and R&B. You could play anything.
And I can do that now. And I
still do. And that's, again, the reason for the success and the decades of number one in the market. And I think even at one point that the show was the number one overall rated show in the market over any time slot.
Oh yeah.
It was huge, and that all attributed to our knowledge and the way that we mixed and programmed many different genres of music together.
Well, you know what? The Hall of Fame, getting in there was probably a cause from me playing the music at those clubs all over top 40, everything, mixing it all up because it reached a lot of people. It doesn't matter what you play, urban, top 40, whatever. I did it all, and that's what made me get a Hall of Fame plaque.
Well, we had a lot of things in common, whether it be the Weekend Dance Party, whether it be Billboard reporters, and we went into the DJ Hall of Fame together as well.
Yep, there you go. You go.
It was a tribute to our friendship because all those years, do you ever remember having any kind of an argument about anything?
Well, what, me and you?
Yeah.
No, I don't. Well, no, we ain't really have an argument.
Well, what were you going to say? Because I don't remember any.
No, I don't remember the time I walked in the club. I'm just bringing this up. We didn't argue about it, but I came a little late, so it was like, you were spinning on the air. We were at the Phoenix.
I remember.
You're spinning and everything, and I'm like running in because it's almost my time to get on. I got halfway in the door. Here you come out with records. I'm like, and a record was playing on the air, and you say to me, "Yo, man, you better hurry up, get up there because that's my last song. You got to put something on or it'll be dead." I said, "You mother." Yeah, I ain't gonna say what I said. That wasn't really an argument, but I run up to the booth and put on a record. I'm like,
"That's funny.
You ain't no damn good."
That's hysterical.
That wasn't even an argument. That was fun.
I mean, we got along so well, and we complimented each other as DJs. Of course, most of the time they would come up and go, "Is that Don Mack?" They would point to me. Or they would come up and go, "Are you the light man?" To me. Yeah. I'd be like, no, I'm the DJ. And they'd be like, "You're white?"
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A lot of people thought you wasn't white. The way, you got so much cool They talking about Joe Too Cool Burrow, whatever that is, football player. And say Joe Too Cool Kalari is the cool guy out.
That was so. Well, that name came about because of a record that I had put out, and I think it was like 91 or 92. Too Cool thing, and that was Tony Luke Jr. came up with that name. Everybody knows Tony Luke Jr. in Philadelphia from the sandwiches shops. But Tony Luke and I have been writing together for many, many years. And of course, he went on to do the movies, and he does the TV shows and the Food Network, and he's in Gravesend on Prime Video, or it's a series, and about an Italian family. Got to check it out. But Tony's a great guy, and that's how we wound up meeting, because he had written a song for Brandy Wells. Remember Brandy Wells?
Yeah.
I Never Loved This Way was the name of the song, and I had an article in the South Philly News and Reviews, and I did a write up on the Brandy Wells song, and I was talking to her, and she said, "Oh, that was written by a local guy." I'm like, "Really?" Tony Lucidonio, that's his real name. So I'm like, "Yeah, no, I don't know who it is." She was like, "Well, he wrote the song." I was like, "That's very interesting." And I did the write up, and he came to the Troc, to thank me for writing the song up, and we've been friends for over 40 years now.
Yeah,
I mean, we've did a lot of things together. We went to California, Vegas, Florida, Texas. We did a lot of things musically. It was a lot of fun. He's a great guy.
Another thing that we forgot to mention, the record pool.
Oh, yeah, the record pool.
We were in the record pool with Martin Keown, and we were getting a lot of hot stuff in there. And we had some stuff that wasn't so hot, but we put that on the side. But that's how we broke a lot of records.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely.
So for those that are out there that don't know what a record pool is, it's I don't know if they're still in existence anymore. I don't think so. It's probably all digital now.
Yeah, probably.
So you could probably still join pools as a DJ, but it's probably digital. But back in the day, you would have a central location with a pool director, and you would go and pick your records up, whatever your day was, and you would pay dues for the records, for being part of the pool. Fortunately for guys like Don Mack and I, who did radio shows and Billboard reporters, we don't pay.
we didn't have to pay. There's another thing. We didn't have to pay.
Right.
In the beginning, I paid, though. In the beginning.
Yeah. And I did I was in a couple different pools. So I had started out in the Philadelphia Spinners with Bob Pantano, who was one of my idols.
Right.
And then I went to the Pocono with Frank Colombo. I think that's what his name was.
Yeah.
And then we did the Metro, and then I wound up back at the PSA. I left the Metro, went back to the PSA.
Right.
Before it was all said and done. And then there were no more pools.
Right.
So
they just disappeared.
Yep.
But there's a lot. That's about it, man. We had a long history of stuff.
Yeah. We had a lot of fun.
In a little bit there, but
yep. Well, listen, man, I wanted to thank you for being on the show.
No problem, man. No problem.
And you got anything else?
No, that's about it, man. I done gave you what I got. I ain't got nothing. I ain't got nothing else. You took everything, man. You took everything.
Well, thanks again for being on Philly Legends podcast. Okay. And you have anything going on now?
Yeah, I just still do parties and stuff. I do.
Okay.
Still DJing. Just getting it out there. Nothing's changed, and it hasn't.
I haven't DJ'd since 2015.
Huh?
2015 was the last time I DJ'd.
Oh, was it? Wow.
That's 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
You should have kept going because you had it, man. You had it.
No.
You had it. You still have it. You got to realize that. Just like me, I can do the same thing. I think I'm even better than I was, even on the air.
Well, I think I moved on to doing more production than actually DJing.
Right.
So, and I taught myself a lot of different things with video and the digital end of it.
Right.
So I still do editing, and I do a lot of video stuff, and now the podcast. So this is going to wind up being a lot of fun to do.
Yeah.
Talk to a lot of people I haven't talked to in a long time, like yourself.
Correct.
And just have fun.
There you
That's
go.
what it's about.
There you go.
All right, brother.
Thank
you for your time.
And thank you for
I'll talk to you soon, bro.
No problem.
All right, take care.
Peace.